This walkthrough will demonstrate how to lay out quizzes, quiz questions, and quiz answers within a media collection record set. We're currently working with a media collection that has 26 videos in the collection as evidenced by the records at level 3. If we select the first video record in the collection, we'll find that there are currently entries at levels 4 and levels 5. The entries at level 4 represent questions for quizzes that belong to the video selected at level 3. The records at level 5 represent the answers to the various questions posed as indicated by the records at level 4. So in essence, we'll be using the application to store information about quizzes, the quiz questions, and the answers to those questions as they relate to various videos within a collection. To proceed, we're going to select the second video in the collection. Currently, there are no questions and no question answers associated with this video. The first step will be to enter the questions associated with the quiz that we're going to have for the video selected at level 3. So we'll click in the subject field for the first record at level 4, and we're going to paste in the question that we want to pose for the first question. That's on my clipboard. I'll use Control V. Of course, I could type it in, but I'm going to copy it and paste it from another location to save time. Then I'll use the Tab key. Then I'll use the right arrow key and the down arrow key to save that record and position for the next question. With the next question on my clipboard, I'll paste that in the subject field, Control V, Tab key, right arrow, down arrow. Off camera, I'm going to enter the rest of the questions associated with the Dreams of Retiring video. After completing entering the 10 questions associated with the video Dreams of Retiring's quiz. If you need to change the display order of a question, you can do so using the up and down arrow command buttons. Next, I'll navigate to the first question listed at level 4, so I'll use Control Home. And with the first question selected at level 5, I'm going to enter the answers that are possible with that question. Now, question 1, Grog Has Dream, is actually a true or false question. So at level 5 in the subject field, we're going to type T/F for true and false. And to indicate a true answer, we're going to put a check mark in Has Subitem. Manual check mark. If it was a false answer, we would have left that blank. So we'll save that record, Shift Enter. And then back at level 4, we'll select the second question. In this case, it's going to be a multiple choice question. Again, I'm going to use copy paste from another location to enter the multiple choice answers for this question, and I'll make those entries at level 5. Again, I'll do this off camera. To indicate the correct answer from these set of answers, I'm going to put a check mark in the Has Subitem column for the correct answer, and that will be the fourth one here. So we'll add a manual check mark, Shift Enter to save. So at this point, we've created the questions and answers for 2 of the questions in the quiz. The first one, true and false. The second one, which is multiple choice. And the correct answers are being indicated by checks or missing checks in the Has Subitem column. Off camera, I'm going to finish the process for the 10 questions in this particular quiz, and I'll do that off camera. I've now completed entering all the answers for the 10 questions related to the quiz for the video Dreams of Retiring. If you need to change the display order of a given answer, you can do so using the up and down arrow command buttons. If you watch the selected video at level 3, after you take the quiz, you have an opportunity to review any missed questions. You do that by clicking the appropriate command button the same as the question number you missed. When you click one of the buttons, you'll be taken back in time to that location in the video where you can review the missed material. The command buttons use go to time hotspots to take you to that point in the video. You can record all the appropriate time points and put them next to the appropriate question at level 4 in the link text field. That's been done in this case for the first video. The schema used for doing that is minutes, seconds, frames separated by a period. So for this third question here, the point in the video that the material begins is at 0 minutes, 13 seconds, 10 frames. After a quiz has been documented within the database, it's easy to use copy-paste to put the quiz information into a Camtasia Studio project. For example, we're going to start entering the quiz information for the Grog's World video. To begin, with the subject matter of the video selected, we'll use Control-C to copy to the clipboard. Then, in an instance of Camtasia, in a small project, quiz already on the timeline, with the quiz selected, we'll go to where you named the quiz, highlight the quiz name, Control-V. We'll go back to the question section, navigate back to the database. We'll select our first question, who was Grog, Control-C, back in Camtasia. Select the default question text, Control-V. I'll tab out of that a couple times. That highlights the default answer text. Back in the database, I'll select first answer, Control-C. Back in Camtasia, Control-V, tab, back in the database. Second answer, Control-C. Back in Camtasia, Control-V, tab, back in the database. Third answer, Control-C. Back in Camtasia, Control-V, tab. Looks like I got a misspelled word. I can correct that later. Back in the database. Final answer, Control-C. Back in Camtasia, Control-V. And if I go back to the answers, I can see that the second one, a caveman, is the correct answer. So we'll come over here and click that off as the correct answer. And I think before I leave, I'll clear up this spelling. Powerball. There we go. Capitalized. We would use the same technique to select the second question in the quiz, copy it over along with its corresponding answers, and we would do this for all 29 questions in this particular quiz. After you've entered all the data associated with the quiz's questions and answers, you can create a report view of the quiz that can then be printed or turned into a PDF. We're currently working with the first video at level 3, Grog's World. And if we select level 4, we see that there are 29 questions, and at level 5 will be listed all the appropriate answers. To create a report view of this quiz, click the command button at level 3 that looks like a question mark. The report that's created will identify the video, Grog's World, and will display the question and the answers underneath that area. On the right side, if you had recorded the time point where the review material starts, you'll see those values listed there. You can scroll the report and quickly review questions and answers for typos, etc. If you would like to create a printed version, you could go to User Actions, click Print, or you can make a PDF, click that, hit Publish, and we get a PDF view of the quiz with the questions and answers. One nice thing about the PDF is that it's searchable. you could use Control F. We'll type in spring. After typing in spring, the first instance is indicated. If we hit the next one, we'll find that one. So you can search your questions and answers for text values or keywords. We're working in the new Edge browser. If you want to print it, you can use the print function, or you can save it as a file. I'm going to use Control W to close this. And I'll click close the PDF wizard. And we're finished working with the quiz report. We'll use Control W to close that. In the previous example, all the videos were located at level 3 with their corresponding questions at 4 and those corresponding answers at level 5. Let's navigate to another collection. This time we'll use a collection called Home Inventory. In this example, the videos are listed at level 2, questions at level 3, and those answers at level 4. When working with videos at level 2, you can create a report by clicking the question mark command button at the level 2 area, and you'll get the corresponding quiz information. In this case, there are only 4 questions. Again, you could print them or save them as a PDF. Close with Control W. To sum this up, if your videos are listed at level 2, quiz information is entered at 3 with answers at 4. We'll go back to the GROG collection. Alternatively, if the videos are listed at level 3, questions go in 4, answers in 5, and you use the corresponding command buttons at each level to create the reports. We'll recreate the level 3 quiz report. Once you've developed and perfected a quiz with questions and answers, you can, of course, copy the questions directly from the report. Make a selection, use Control C, then navigate to the Camtasia Studio Quiz UI and paste the information there. By way of example, we'll copy the quiz name, Control C, in an instance of Camtasia with a project loaded, quiz already on the timeline, the quiz placeholder selected. We'll navigate to the location where you enter the quiz name. We'll highlight the quiz name, Control V, and then we'll navigate back to the question section. Back in the database with the reports displayed, we'll enter the first question, Control C. Back in the quiz, we'll highlight the default question text, Control V. Tab at that a couple times. Now the default answer text is selected or highlighted. Back in the report, we'll select the first answer, Control C. Back in Camtasia, Control V. Tab out of that. Back in the report, select the second answer, Control C. Back in Camtasia, Control V. Tab out of that. Back in the quiz report, copy the third answer, Control C. Back in Camtasia, Control V. Tab out of that. Back in the quiz report, copy the last question answer, Control C. Back in Camtasia, Control V. I'll tab out of that for good measure. I think I need to mark off my correct answer for the first one, so back in Camtasia, we'll mark the second answer as the correct answer. And back in the quiz report, we would continue that process for the remaining questions in this 29 question quiz, along with all their answers. If you have a published video that contains a quiz, and you'd like to use that quiz information to populate quiz records in the LINQS database, you can do so using copy-paste. I have an example loaded here, and we're going to be posting this over to a example record in Links Manager. Specifically, I created a new video record at level 3, and this represents the name of a video, although I'm calling it something else than what it is in reality. Back in the video itself, I want to grab and enter the first question associated with this video quiz. So I'll make a selection, Control C. Back in Links Manager, we'll click down at level 4 to enter the first question, Control V, Tab key, down over. Back in the video, we'll grab our first answer, Control C. Back in Links Manager, we'll go back up and select the first question. At level 5, we'll enter the first answer, Control V, Tab key, down over. We'll grab the next answer, Control C, Control V, Tab, and so forth until I populate all the answers associated with this question. Control V, Tab, and I'll grab my last answer here. Control C, Control V, Tab. Now, we have to enter or indicate the correct answer. In this case, it's number 3, so we'll select that. Shift Enter to save that. First questions, answers entered. Now we'll select the second question location at level 4. Back in the quiz in the video, we'll go to the second question. Make a selection, Control C. Paste that, Control V, Tab. Save it. And now we're ready to enter the answers associated with this second question. And that'll be these guys here. Control C, Control V, Tab, over down. At least 2 million. Control C, Control V. 1's the next one. I don't even need to copy that. 1, Tab. Control C, and 2 million if you ask me. Control C, and Control V, Tab. The correct answer here is going to be number 3. Shift Enter. We'll go back to our quiz, and we would repeat the same process for the remaining questions and answers in this particular chapter's quiz, and there apparently are 29 questions and answer sets. Of course, when we complete the process, we could create a level 3 report and get a view of the questions and answers associated with the quiz that we created in the Links record database by copying and pasting quiz information out of an already published video.